But coming up next, Rafael Nadal warming up for the men's final at the Australian Open, taking on Wawrinka. Live coverage next here on ESPN.
When you walk down that hallway, it's quiet. You are excited, nervous. You got the fear of losing. You have how it's going to feel if you win. The anxiety is there. It's a tough sport. When you walk down that hallway, everyone's seated. It's quiet, and they call your name out. You walk out there and you're just like, you feel you can't breathe.
Very special, that moment when I'm going from the locker room to the main entrance of the stadium and I see my picture there. You never know if that will be the last time that I will have the chance to enjoy that moment.
He's from Spain. He is Rafael Nadal.
I'm excited. Everything is happening in my head. I'm really trying to pause in that moment just to enjoy a little bit.
It's nerve-wracking. Everyone's watching. There's only one match on the court and you can't hide. So it's on you.
Welcome to the Australian Open 2014, presented by Franklin Templeton Investments.
We welcome you once again to Melbourne and a happy Australia Day, a celebration of the history of a sports-crazed land. And tonight, as they gather outside Rod Laver Arena, tennis history could be made inside it. It's the Franklin Templeton Investment featured matchup. It's the men's championship match. Number 1, Rafael Nadal takes on number 8, Wawrinka, making his debut in a Grand Slam final. It's a gorgeous night in Melbourne. The weather conditions could not be better. And a great crowd's inside once again, an absolute sellout for this men's final match. Hi, everyone. I'm Chris McKendry with Brad Gilbert as the pre-match festivities get underway. Tonight, we're looking at two men trying to get the first Grand Slam title of this season, and both come in unbeaten. For Rafael Nadal, well, it's credit to his incredible consistency over the past 11 months, 11 titles over that span. And for Wawrinka, it's a credit to his growth. He is now 28, Brad, and he finally believes he belongs. He's already beaten Novak Djokovic here. What would this title mean to him?
Well, it's his second consecutive major, making a semifinals or better. There's been a lot of guys since, in the 90s that have made one final here. Guys like Clement, Schüttler, Baghdadis. But for me, if Wawrinka can win this title, beating Djokovic in the quarters, beating Nadal, beating 1 and 2 in the world, I mean, you just got to stand up and give a golf clap. That would be one of the most amazing efforts I've seen in the last 20 years.
And if he does do that, he certainly does belong. He'll catapult up to number 3 in the world. As for Rafael Nadal, it's not just personal history, but the history of the sport that's in his hands. He could win his 14th Grand Slam title. That would tie Pete Sampras, trailing only Roger Federer's 17, which seems so well within his reach. He'd also be the first man, Brad, to complete the career Grand Slam in the Open era twice.
Well, what's amazing is 2 years ago, he had one of his toughest beats of his career. Wasn't here last year. And what he's done in the last 11 months in his illustrious career, to me, is the best I've seen from him. He has been a dominant player and maybe as dominant as we've ever seen. He's been dominant on clay. He's been dominant on all surfaces since he's come back since February last year.
And of course, he was gone because of a knee injury that cost him 7 months of his precious career. Tom Rinaldi has spent quite a bit of time with Rafa Nadal since his return, and Tom joins us now. And Tom, as you found out, it's not just Wawrinka who's the opponent this evening.
Well, Chris, every match has opportunity, but for Rafael Nadal on this court on this night, there's history. He knows it as much as we do. For all the personal history of success he's had against Stan Wawrinka, he faces another opponent in each match. Himself, his body, his psyche, and his doubts. Usually, he beats them. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. Shakespeare said that, but he never saw him attempt.
It's important to have doubts because the doubts are part of sport, it's part of life. Nothing is completely sure. So if somebody doesn't have doubts, probably it's because he's too arrogant. No. In my opinion, the doubts in my career sometimes were not positive, but the most of the times were positive because they makes me respect every opponent, every new year.
A year ago, he wasn't here. He was in the midst of a 7-month absence, repairing a shredded knee and searching for new strength. The questions were blunt. When would he return? How would he play? Who would he be?
Rafael Nadal.
The answers came in wins, titles,
Rafael Nadal comes to the desert to end the drought of hardcourt titles.
majors.
His second U.S. Open championship.
He finished the year at #1 in the world.
It was a very special year for me. If I had to choose a year in my career, probably I will choose that one, because coming back after an injury of 7.5 months without having the chance to compete and practice, so be back and do what I did last year is something that I never thought that can be a real thing.
While we often watched him in awe, we also looked on in worry. How long could he last, given the relentlessness and the guts and the grind? But when the doubt came, maybe it was the grind that saved him and the work that brought him back. And maybe better than before.
The injury is negative, but in a few things makes me find solutions, and that's the thing that I am more satisfied about myself, be able always to find solutions to readapt my game.
For some, doubt is ruin. For him, it's something different. It's the heart of his faith. The last time Nadal faced Stan Wawrinka was at the year-end championships in London. He won that match in 2 tiebreakers. But interestingly, Chris, Wawrinka won more points, 83-80. The point tonight is much bigger. With a win, Nadal makes history for the 14th time.
Tom, very well done. And I'm sure just thinking of that 7-6, 7-6 result early November against Wawrinka has given Rafa some doubt tonight. How motivating can doubt be?
Well, first of all, just seeing Tom's piece, to me, Rafael Nadal, I call him, he's the most amazing, humble champion. He doesn't want you just to throw accolades. He has so much respect for everybody. And when I watch him, it doesn't matter if he's 4-0 up or 4-0 down. He'd be a tough guy to play poker with at the table. He does not let you know what's going on. It's fantastic.
Humble throughout this. This is a look at what he did since February, since 2013. Over that return, 19 events, 11 titles, 2 Grand Slam titles. Took the #1 ranking away from Novak Djokovic. Djokovic had a lot more points to defend here. Nadal had none. So he is #1 far and away.
I feel like I need to stand up and give him a golf clap. I mean, if he wins tonight, it's just a little mini milestone, but he will be the first ATP player in history to get to 15,000 points. He won't have the largest lead ever, but pretty amazing, those numbers. They just speak volumes for how tough he's been on this comeback.
And yet all he can think about is one more match that night. That match coming up at the bottom of the hour. When we continue, we're going to take a closer look at Wawrinka. 34 or 35 slams have been won by one of the big four, except for Del Potro in 2009. Wawrinka looks to join him tonight.
ESPN's coverage of the Australian Open 2014 is presented by Franklin Templeton Investments. Gain from our perspective.
We welcome you back inside Rod Laver Arena. Only two men remain, Nadal, Wawrinka. Tonight, they'll play for the men's championship of the 2014 Australian Open. Coming up in just under 20 minutes. Back with Brad Gilbert, Chris McKendry. Brad, we talk about what an upset this would be if Wawrinka pulled off a victory, and here's why. Nadal leads 12-zip, and he's won each and every set they've played.
If you're Magnus Northern, the Stanimals coach, you don't talk about any of those other matches. Maybe you talk about London a little bit, where he had looks, won a couple more points, but lost 6 and 6. You really give your speech about X's and O's, what you need to do to be successful. Don't talk about what has happened before. Don't talk about what will happen if you win. Talk about what you really think that he needs to do to be successful. He's got to serve big and crack that forehand like he's been doing all tournament.
Because as we talk about tennis history, it's really creeping up there as one of the all-time runs against one player. It is Nadal's most successful record against any player, and he could end up on this list, Brad. And Tim Mayotte lost to Yvonne Lendl 17 times, and well, you lost to Yvonne 16 times, Brad.
Oh, thank you for that one. You know, it's funny. We could put in, like, Steffi Graf, and she has some of them, like, 17, 16-0 for her. That was like a bunny, you know. She used to go, I've got a couple where I'm in the 30s.
Yeah, I could have put in that, but I don't work with Steffi Graf. I work with you. Hey, the last time you saw him in Philly in '91, you took a set.
Not only did I take a set, I had 4-1 double break in the third, and in my mind, all I was thinking was, nobody beats me 16 times in a row, except for I lose the match. We're in the locker room. Yvonne comes over to me and he goes, if I was on my deathbed, had 110 temperature, I ain't losing to you.
On that note, let's bring in Chris Fowler and Patrick McEnroe. He's over it, though, Chris. He really, really is.
I doubt that, Chris. I guarantee Rafa has not trash-talked Wawrinka in the locker room with similar stuff. Look, the 26 sets to zip is pretty daunting, but it's a little bit misleading as well because Wawrinka's had 9 set points against Nadal, so he knows he's been very close. But what has to happen differently tonight to do the same thing he did to Djokovic, who had beaten him 14 times in a row?
Well, first of all, it's a new and improved, well-improved Stan Wawrinka. He's played his best tennis in the last year, clearly. He beats Djokovic here after playing a couple of great matches last year. What he has to do, number one, is not be overwhelmed by the occasion, being in his first major final. That will be difficult early on. If he does that, I think he's got the firepower and the game, Chris, to really take it to Nadal, to do some things that have bothered Nadal during this tournament. Nishikori was able to do it a little bit, Dimitrov as well, and I think Stan has the firepower off both wings and the big serve as well to do some damage against Rafa. So a couple things. I mean, this was against Djokovic, and this is usually a weakness of Stan's game, is attacking the second serve. He's got to make a commitment tonight against Nadal to go after that short second serve. Here he likes to chip the return, but anything short, he can go right at the ball, attack off both wings, and I think he's got to get to net quite a bit, probably a little more than he would be used to. This is key for Stan. Big serve, back it up with the big forehand. We talk about his great one-handed backhand, which certainly is a weapon, but it's the forehand that's got to do a lot of damage.
And for Nadal?
Well, Nadal, I mean, you know what he's going to do. He's going to come out and execute his games, hit his spots with the serve, and then look to dominate with the forehand wing. His movement here has been exceptional. What he did really well against Federer was hit his backhand cross-court, not just from the ground, but on the passing shots as well. Really leaned into that shot. So it'll be interesting to see if he tries to pull Wawrinka into the forehand corner. The other thing I think we'll see a little more of from Nadal than he did against Federer, because he didn't have to do it that much, was get to net. He was pretty much I'm going to play heavy to the backhand. I'm going to be consistent. I think Wawrinka doesn't move quite as well as Federer, and he can also hurt Nadal actually a little bit more off the backhand wing. I expect to see Rafa take it to him early, try to expose his movement, and show off some of that net play.
Stan did Rafa a big favor by knocking out Djokovic. Let's be honest, most projected those two would meet in the final. He also watched Rafa dismantle Federer, playing at a much different level than he had throughout the tournament. Now, Stan's had 2 days to recover and also 2 days to think about his first Slam final. So physically, he said he should be fine. He seems to be relaxed. I don't sense that Nadal is that relaxed, even though he's been through this 19 times. The possibility of achieving that double career slam, I think, is in his head.
Oh, I think it obviously means a lot to him. The emotions of being back here in Melbourne, where he missed this tournament last year because of the injury. And think about where we were exactly a year ago, wondering if Nadal could come back. How healthy would he be? Turned out he had maybe the best year of his career. So I think, as you know, you heard from Tom Rinaldi in that piece, he has a lot of respect for the opposition. He knows that Wawrinka has a lot of firepower, and he will be a little bit edgy early on. And Stan's got to take advantage of that.
Can Wawrinka beat Djokovic and Nadal in the same major? Nobody's ever been able to do that. Chris, we can't wait down here.
Chris, looking forward to it, and we can feel the energy just rising in the arena right now. Brad, I want to bring you back to something Patrick said and Chris said, that Rafa really raised his level against Federer. What did you see?
Well, after struggling with the blister in the round of 16 and the quarters, got rid of most of the tape, just a little donut, and he started ripping the backhand. And to me, that was the shot that won him the match, and I expect more of that. Unbelievable firepower. We know he has up the forehand, but it was the backhand that was large in charge.
Well, we saw that last night. Li Na was the favorite against Dominika Cibulkova, and when she finally won, such relief. There he is, a great American champion, the 14-time Grand Slam champion, twice here. Pete Sampras will be the man to present that trophy to tonight's winner. Australian Open Men's Championship coming up, bottom of the hour. We are moments away. The pre-match festivities still going on. They've yet to call the players to the court. It's Rafa Nadal and Stan Wawrinka for the men's championship. Back with Brad Gilbert, I'm Chris McHenry. Looking so forward to this match. Brad, no one in more than 20 years has beaten number 1 and 2 in the world in a Grand Slam en route to the title. Did I stump you?
I had to think about that. Sergio Bergara in '93, and no player ever in a slam has beaten Rafael Nadal and Djokovic in one of these events. So what a rough ask. But to me, this Stanimal comes in playing the best tennis of his life. And I'm not going to say he's got nothing to lose, but he's just got to let it fly everywhere.
You know, it's just more history for the Stanimal to deal with. And for a player who's grown up now playing in the shadow of one of the greatest players in history, Stan Wawrinka, history's just that, and it's not a big part of his game. Once again, here's Tom Rinaldi.
Stan delivers again.
I didn't expect to make a final in Grand Slam in my career. I'm 28 now. I'm on the tour since 10 years. Now I feel that it's my time to play my best tennis.
How long is the trip from shadow to light? From steadiness to stardom. For Stan Wawrinka, the journey has made the prize more precious. Long eclipsed by friend and countryman Federer, often blocked by the elites like Nadal and Djokovic and Murray. He didn't accept failure. He learned from it by writing its lesson down his arm in a quote from Irish poet Samuel Beckett.
Ever tried, ever fail. No matter, try again, fail better. It's been my tennis life, you know.
Every week, every tournament you lose, but doesn't mean that was a bad tournament. I have only 5 tournaments when I finish as a winner, so that's not a lot. You have to stay positive even if you lost the match.
We relate to the underdog, his striving, and his strength. They've carried him here, not overnight, but over time.
I'm always trying. I always think that I can change all the statistics. That's positive. I have more confidence in myself. I know that when I go on court, I can beat almost everybody.
It was a 5-set loss a year ago here to Novak Djokovic that convinced Stan Wawrinka he belonged. Another 5-set loss at the U.S. Open to Djokovic really convinced him of that fact. And sure enough, he does. If he loses tonight, he's still world number 5. If he wins, he's world number 3. And he, no matter what, is the new Swiss number 1. Wondering if the past couple of days have been difficult for him, Brad? He said not at all. In fact, he went to see the James Bond exhibit here in Melbourne, 007. You know, the mission's never easy.
I like that, you know. I mean, it's been, you know, sometimes the longer wait you would think would help you, but maybe in your first final you get a little bit anxious, to say the least.
All right, let's get to it now. It's that time. Tail of the tape.
Love it. You know,
Size
I had
him up.
Oh, look at him doing a little sit-ups there. I had a little time to think about it today, but I tell you what, on the tail of tape, the most improved shot I've seen from this Stanimal, I now give him 3 checks for the forehand, and you know Rafa gets 3 checks. Backhand, it was a little bit of a struggle for a couple tournaments, Rafa. Back up to 3 checks, and the beautiful one-handed backhand for Stanislav, 3 as well. The serve, Stanislav has got the biggest serve I've seen for a guy 6 feet tall. Rafa, 2 checks. The return, I give a nice advantage there to Rafa, 2-1. Blocks the return too much. Net play, once again, I give the advantage to Rafa, 3-2. Big advantage here to me, even though it's 3-2, could even be larger than that. Rafa moves like a genius. The intangibles. Stand and deliver on the biggest stage. Can he do it? And hello, Club 14. He will get it from Pete Sampras, who has 14. And today is the 14th day of the tournament. So 14s are wild.
All right, 14 sound pretty lucky.
And I'm hoping the Stanimal wins 1 set.
That's all you're giving him?
Yeah.
That's all you're giving him. All right, this is just in the bowels of the stadium. Stan Wawrinka, he looks pretty loose there. Getting loose, Brad.
I like it, you know, a little limber up.
All right, the men's championship match is coming up at the bottom of the hour. Our live coverage continues after a quick break. And we welcome you back inside Rod Laver Arena. We're moments away from the men's championship match between Rafael Nadal and Stan Wawrinka. We're just moments away, too, from the players coming out on court, making that long walk that if you joined us at the top of the hour, you heard Pete Sampras say is just breathtaking. What are the players going through right now, Brad?
Well, for me, I think it's absolutely crucial for Stan Wawrinka to get off to a good start. I know he's never won a set, and some people say, oh, you can work your way into the match, because he needs to keep scoreboard pressure and he needs to keep the crowd engaged. And for his own psyche, you don't want to come out here and be down 3-0, 4-1, because then you might lose a little belief, and then that's when Rafael might just take that Ferrari up a couple of gears right away, and he could sprint away from you.
Wawrinka's never beaten a #1 player in the world. How much of his nerves can he work through in the warm-up? How much of that is possible?
Oh, there's no doubt. When I was coaching Andre in '99, the U.S. Open, he threw the kitchen sink at Todd Martin in the warm-up. And Todd Martin still to this day will say, I cannot believe how Andre was ripping every ball in the warm-up just to set the tone in the warm-up. But I think from the first ball, from the get-go, I mean, if you got 141 in the bank, bring it.
And how about Rafa's quirks to start the match? He sometimes can slow down play at the start of a match. He waits to have all of his water bottles lined up. Everybody knows what he goes through now. What does Wawrinka do to handle that?
You know what? You got to worry about what you can do on the other side of the court. Rafa plays to his pace. You need to worry about what you can control, which is on your side of the net. And that's why if I was coaching, I would tell him, listen, whatever you got on the first shot, if it's a return, come out of your shoes. I mean, I'm telling you, I don't care if you hit a 6, they call it in cricket, hit it as big as you can, And I don't care how big what you got in the tank on a serve, hit it as big as you can. Make a statement early with your tennis racket.
And for Nadal, he is an overwhelming favorite to win this match. How much pressure's on him?
You know what? Tremendous pressure because, obviously history's at stake. He's the big favorite. Everyone expects him to roll. Never dropped a set to this guy. But let me tell you, this kid is the most humble, and he handles pressure. Expect him to play a lot like he did in that Federer match by taking up his game a level. And he won't take a stand lightly. He won't think, oh, geez, I've never lost a set to this guy. He's saying how good the guy's playing. I need to raise the level of my game.
Finally, you say they have 3 checks each on the forehand?
Well, they won't let me give any more checks. So it's 3 checks apiece, but Rafa's forehand is clearly better, but that's all I can give. And Stan's forehand, believe it or not, has done a lot more damage here than the backhand. Everyone thinks about the wonderful backhand. It's been the forehand here that has 2-to-1 winners per match.
As we talk about building nerves, I mean, the roof is open. It's a gorgeous night, but the players are in a bit of a holding pattern right now. That is tough to do.
We don't have roof skate again, do we?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We look at the major championships here since Roland Garros 2005, his first major, and he has 13. It's time for the walk in those anxious moments.
Ladies and gentlemen, the men's singles final of the Australian Open Tennis Champions of 2014. If you welcome from Switzerland, Wawrinka. And his opponent from Spain is Rafael Nadal.
There he is, the 13-time Grand Slam winner. Brad, you say he's the humble champion. His credential, his identification hanging off his bag in case he needs to get in.
How cool is that? And I love that he does a couple of those jumps, squats before they call his name. He looks ready to go.
Nice ovation as well for Stan Wawrinka. They are going to cheer for the underdog. They're going to want to see a few sets of tennis, 4 if not 5. It's time to get down to the guys in the booth calling the match. It's Chris Fowler, Patrick McEnroe, Darren Cahill is courtside. Chris.
All right, Chris, thank you. And happy Australia Day, a beautiful summer evening in Melbourne for the first men's Grand Slam final of 2014. Interesting to watch the faces in the tunnel. You search for signs of tension. You know their hearts are pounding. Nadal can look to his right just before making that turn on the court and see his picture there from 2009. Wawrinka can see Novak Djokovic as the last picture, right. The man that he knocked out 2 rounds ago to get here. I think for Rafa, it's about reinforcing his status as the #1 player in the world who would hold 3 of the 4 major titles, have a massive lead in points, and get to 14 majors, double career Grand Slam. For Wawrinka, it's really about breaking through. And he's had an amazing 6 months and an incredible week to get here tonight.
Well, for him, he has broken through. And now comes the ultimate test, right? The ultimate challenge to take on Rafa in a Grand Slam final, best of 5 sets. Whenever the players walk out there, and you hear this from first-time finalists a lot in majors, there's something different. There's something unique about this moment. And I think a big part of how close this match will be how Stan Wawrinka handles the moment. As I said earlier, Chris, he's got the weaponry, he's got the firepower. Yes, he's never lost a set, never won a set against Rafael Nadal, but he is a different man in the last year. To beat Djokovic here, then to follow that up with a solid win over Thomas Berdych when he was struggling physically. He should be fresh physically. Mentally is the big question mark for him.
What's different about a final? The trophy is sitting right there on the edge of the court.
That's one
beautiful
thing.
Norman Brooks trophy that Nadal won in 5 sets over Federer 4 years ago after surviving a 5-hour semifinal. The journey here has been relatively straightforward. They've each played 17 sets. You're supposed to have to win 18 to get here. Wawrinka's only had to win 13 because of a retirement and a walkover. Rafa also had a first-round retirement. And his match against Roger, 2.5 hours, not taxing. He came out yesterday for an early practice, so no physical issues. The blister seems to be fine for him.
I guess you know him, huh? Yeah. Okay, can we do the photos first so I don't forget? Both ways, please, with him and then without him.
It's Carlos Ramos in the chair from Portugal.
Think that little guy's pumped up out there? Look at that smile.
Okay, now without Luke. Look. And the other, yeah, the other one as well, yeah. Okay,
Good
let's go.
friends is Nadal's description of their
Okay, any
relationship. They do
questions?
practice
No?
a little bit together, but this is all business
Rafa
now.
doesn't like to call it. Do you want to call it, Stan? Or you can call it.
You call for me.
Okay, what do you call it? What do you want? Heads for me? For him? Okay, let's go. And it's tails.
I receive.
You receive? Stay? Okay. Okay, have a good match.
Thank you.
Good luck, yeah.
Good luck.
So Luke lost the coin toss, but Rafa wants to receive anyway. And there's the trademark sprint to the baseline for the warm-up.
But Carlos Ramos knows Rafa doesn't like to call it.
Yes.
So maybe Stan, trying to get in his head a little bit. Well, I'm not going to call it either.
You know, Nadal, seeing him at his practice, a little more wound up, in my opinion, than he was against Roger Federer. You say, how can that be against the 17-time slam winner? But a final is different. That's part of it. And I think that, the pressure of this match, where he knows Wawrinka's been close. He has total respect for this guy. So forget about the 26 sets to zip being overconfident. That's not the case at all.
No, I agree. And I also think he is thinking about history. He does a great job of talking about respecting his opponents and going match to match. And I believe he really does that. But he knows full well that he's got a chance to win this title for the 2nd time. That'll mean he's won every major at least twice. And let's just, I know it's early, but let's just start to think a little bit about the fact that he's going to be a monster favorite at the French Open again. And then you start to think, well, wait a second. He's never won the first 2 majors of the year in the same year. And you start putting in perspective what could happen, what kind of year it could be for him. Could be quite a ride this year.
And what kind of a slam total might he have at the end of that year? Federer fans nervous as Nadal is now right on Roger's heels. We say happy Australia Day to Darren Cahill courtside for his insight on this final. Darren?
Thank you very much, Chris. A perfect night here for tennis. About 80 degrees. They just opened up the roof. Actually quite humid in here tonight as well. Going to drop to about 65 degrees as this match goes along tonight. First little psychological blow thrown by Stan Wawrinka as he came out. He actually took the chair directly opposite the Nadal camp. Now, most players like to sit with line of sight so they can see their camp. So Stan throws the first blow, but it's been great to watch his body language during this tournament. He was very, very uptight and frustrated before his match against Novak, a run of 26 losses in a row to Novak and Rafa. He gets through that match, he relaxes, but then he has Berdych in the next match in the semis. He's extremely tight and nervous, in his words, the most nervous he's been before any particular match. He takes out Berdych because of the expectation, takes him out, and today when we saw him very relaxed and excited about the final, said he's going to leave his heart and soul on the court. Hopefully it's not a I'm satisfied that I'm into the final feeling, but I don't think it will be. I think he'll put up a great performance. We went out and watched Rafa practice, his normal nervous self like he is before every nervous in every match. He takes nothing for granted, no one for granted, and he certainly won't do that tonight.
Now, Darren, Nadal says he knows this is a match where his normal tennis will not be good enough. He will have to play his very best, as he did against the compatriot of Wawrinka to get here. One final timeout, and then the Australian Open Championship match, Wawrinka and Nadal.
very special. That moment when I am going from the locker room to the main entrance of the stadium and I see my picture there. You never know if that will be the last time that I will have the chance to enjoy that moment.
He's from Spain. He is Rafael Nadal.
I'm excited. Everything is happening in my head. I'm really trying to pause in that moment just to enjoy a little bit.
2 years ago on this court, Rafael Nadal was pushed as close to the limits, his significant limits, as he ever has been. 5 hours and 53 minutes in a losing effort to Novak Djokovic in the final. His first match on this court since then was his opening round against Tomic. So he's got lots of memories here. This he calls his least lucky Grand Slam, the one that he's won only once. For Wawrinka, of course, this has been the breakthrough Grand Slam, and he gives so much credit to the Swede Magnus Norman, a one-time #2 player in the world. As you see the entire Wawrinka box right there, Norman on the right. And he played in a Grand Slam final at Roland Garros in 2000, but Wawrinka gives him so much credit, Patrick, for pushing him each practice. He always wants more, he says, and it's worked the last 9 months.
Well, he was a real workhorse as a player. I mean, he got to #2 in the world with a lot of will, and he used that will to become a great coach. And he worked with Soderling. Remember when Soderling beat Nadal, the only guy to ever beat him at the French.
Was also in the coaching box for the final the following year in 2010 when Nadal did get Soderling. Uncle Tony, the familiar figure, he did get one warning during this tournament. It was against Nishikori in the 4th round for coaching, and Wawrinka in the past has been very suspicious that Tony is saying more than he should towards Rafa from that coaching box. The incredible uncle-nephew relationship. Rafa visited the observation deck at the highest building in the Southern Hemisphere the other day, and Tony, who's so scared of heights, wanted no part of going out there and getting a look out the window.
It's enough stress sitting in the box there for all these major finals.
He's taking Rafa to the heights, though, that's for sure. There's tension in those faces because they know that chances like this come around very rarely. I mean, Nadal a year ago didn't know if he'd have a chance to play tennis at Grand Slam final level. And here he is, after the incredible comeback from the knee injury, trying to seize this chance. Double career slam, equaling Pete Sampras, who will present the trophy tonight. Good moment a few minutes ago in the hallway. Sampras handing over his phone to have a picture taken with Rod Laver.
Wow.
Here, of course, also. So the tennis world watching the first men's Grand Slam final of 2014. And the underdog, Wawrinka, will serve to begin it.
There's Pistol Pete. You know, the first time he'd ever seen Nadal play in person was the semifinal against Federer, and he said he was blown away by this game. I'm sure he was thinking about how would I play against it. Yeah, he was.
Here we go.
Ready. Play.
Brad mentioned the Wawrinka forehand. We'll see the improvement on that shot tonight.
Well, he's beefed up that shot a lot. I think because he's gotten quicker, he's gotten fitter, it's enabled him to move around the court and hit the forehand more often. Easy looking firepower. First 2 points from Stan. Looks pretty relaxed.
Lemons for serve. 30-15. Let's second serve. Game, Wawrinka.
Wawrinka, one first serve in the 5 points that holds at 15. It's a good start for him.
And Nadal will look to employ that heavy forehand cross-court to Wawrinka's backhand wing. Stan, a little more firepower off, actually a lot more firepower off that side than Federer. Doesn't have quite the variety, but that will be very interesting to see how that matchup unfolds if Stan can consistently handle the heavy ball to his backhand side.
Keep an eye on the Nadal serve, which was brilliant against Federer. Didn't face any break points until he had a commanding 2-set-to-love lead and up a break in the third. Basically donated that service game to Federer with some sloppy mistakes. Since the blister has gotten better after rounds 3 and 4, the feel on the second serve has gotten better, and that's given him the freedom to go for more in the first serve.
His serving pattern against Federer, as it usually is, pretty much exclusively to the backhand wing. It'll be interesting to see if Nadal mixes it up a bit more tonight.
Rafael Nadal to serve. Left.
Two straight serves to the Wawrinka forehand wing there.
40 left.
I asked Darren Cahill after this game to explain what it is about the Wawrinka grip, the way he waits in that return, that makes it tricky for him against Nadal's serve.
Let for serve.
Big-time troubles on the return, Darren. Why is it so tricky for Stan, and why is variety an important weapon for Nadal's serve tonight?
Well, Chris, in tennis, we call it a tweener grip. It's not a forehand grip, and it's not a backhand. It's right in the middle, and what it allows him to do is to bunt the return back. Hit a slice return on the forehand and backhand without making a change to the grip. He has enormous changes between a forehand and backhand. So if you bang a big, fast first serve in there, he doesn't have time to come over the return of serve, and that's why you see him bunt a lot of those returns in. On a second, he can back up and take a bigger swing.
Rafa gave him no looks at a second serve in that service game.
It's probably the biggest weakness in Wawrinka's game is the return off the first serve because of that.
We'll talk about the Beckett quotation, but 9 months ago, Stan had tattooed onto his left forearm there. The motto for his career and for his life, basically about perseverance, resilience. He's a little tired about talking about it, that's for sure.
Well,
30 left.
Now this is what Wawrinka is going to look to do as often as he can, is attack that first ball if Nadal drops it short.
Stan is often not a high percentage first server. Needs to go for a lot, but the rhythm is definitely not there in the early stages. He's trying to hold without the first serve as a weapon. There's that one in, and then with the forehand on the line.
14-15.
Pretty routine holds his serve to open this Australian Open final.
Wawrinka leads 2-0.
It happened. Check out the IBM insights for this match, which indicates players' chance of winning a set based on 9 years of majors data, looking at some of the head-to-heads between these guys and taking the hard court into account. You've selected one category for each player.
All right, let's start with Mr. Rafael Nadal. Win more than 27% of first serve return points.
Okay.
How he does returning Stan's first serve. Hasn't seen a lot of them so far. Likelihood of winning that set would be just about 80%. That was a terrible drop shot there, and Wawrinka makes Nadal pay the price. How about for Stan? I thought I'd throw you just a little bit of a curveball tonight, Chris, for the championship match. Win more than 67% of the points when he's serving at 30-all or deuce at late in the game even. Likelihood of winning that set 56%. So a little wrinkle for you tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think our viewers who play would understand that. You win that 30-all point.
Yeah,
you don't have to face a break point.
Important point. It's kind of a swing point.
Those 30-all points were very important in that airtight meeting in London, the most recent head-to-head. Nadal just a little bit better in the big points. As he usually is against anybody.
Yes.
I think Rafa's going to serve Stan's forehand a lot tonight. We've seen it a couple of times already off the first serve, and both times Stan is ready for it, and both times Stan's been quite aggressive on that return of serve. He hasn't bunted that ball back, and that is his weakness. Returns the slice return much better on the backhand side than he does on the forehand. Rafa's going to change this up.
again, not a great volley from Nadal, who's certainly become a skilled volleyer in recent years.
Well, a couple of tight-looking shots from Nadal in this game. Double fault, a poor drop shot. Looked a little edgy on that volley, and Stan just unloads on this back, and that's just too much firepower there.
This little move here would have been legal for Stan as well, had that ball gone in.
Early break chances for the underdog. Wawrinka outplaying the world number one in the early stages. Gets the break. Nadal leaving lots of those shots very short.
Well, definitely edgy in the opening stages of this match, and Wawrinka calmly takes over the point, and that was a pretty routine break for him.
I really sense Nadal might be tight at the start of this match.
Love 15.
Wawrinka, 28 years old, made the breakthrough to the final 8 of the year-end championships last year for the first time. Like Nadal, won a tune-up event on a hard court coming into the Australian Open. So both guys undefeated on the season as we open this final.
And Stan will move into the top 5 when the new rankings come out. On Monday, he'll be number 5 if he loses. He'll be number 3 if he wins this final. So there's a little shifting going on in that top 8 now.
Big time. Murray dropping to 6, Federer dropping to 8 in the new rankings.
First ace.
30-15.
In that match in London, we've mentioned it was Nadal getting the first break in both of the 2 sets. Wawrinka having to fight back to force a tiebreak. So already that's been rescripted here.
For serve.
This guy's playing in his first major final. Wow.
He said he felt relaxed, and he's backing that up so far. Wawrinka stretches it to 4-1. Degrees on this holiday evening in Australia. Australia Day fireworks are about an hour and 10 minutes away, but it's Wawrinka providing most of those so far. A nervous looking Nadal in a 4-1 hole. Wawrinka took that break and seemed to relax even more.
He seems to be going for his shots, but he's not out of control at all. Very much in his comfort zone so far. Excellent serving game that last game to solidify the break.
15 love.
Rafa at 27. Took over that #1 after beating Djokovic at the U.S. Open. Will build a massive lead if he wins this match. Lead still pretty big if he loses it.
Well, how about this, Chris? Since he came back from being out with that injury, and of course he missed this tournament last year, started shortly after this event on the clay in South America. He's played 19 events since coming back from the knee injury. He's been in the final of 6. This is now the 16th time he's been in the final. Incredible. 11 titles, including 2 majors. The French and, of course, last year's U.S. Open.
Dictate off both wings now.
Yeah, that's a message sender kind of a point. It's 40 love, so it's not a huge point, but to go cross court once, twice, and then wait for the opening and just explode down the line, that's sending a message to Nadal early. And I think you'll look and see that Rafa will get a little bit more aggressive, a little more offensive. Excuse me, Chris, I thought it was 40 love. It's actually now a break point for a second break.
Now this is Wawrinka trying to grab a hammerlock on the first set on the Nadal that he's ever won. What a start.
Going on, Patrick, from that point you're talking about how good Rafa has been in the last 12 months. If he is to win here, he will reach 15,000 points on the rankings, the first ever player to do that since the history of the rankings.
Well, the lead over Djokovic will be 4,510 with a win tonight. He's not thinking about that now.
No.
Nadal's missed set landing on the line, and he gets out of trouble. Hard-earned hold. Remember that wide serve to save break point as he tries to stage a comeback in this set.
He's mixing up his serves a lot more than he did against Roger Federer.
Seems like Stan's reading it very well.
15 love.
A little bit quicker, Rafa says to the ball kid. Get the towel a little bit quicker. Taking care of his serve very nicely so far. And I really love that play, Chris. He's employed that a couple of times already, mixing up the serve and volley when he pulls Nadal wide on the backhand wing. Not only does that help him, obviously, in that point, but I think that could help him as the match goes on, forcing Nadal to come up with a better return more often.
Come on, that transition tennis.
That's impressive right there. That's the kind of point where Wawrinka was vulnerable in the past, wide to the forehand, but he's improved his movement, he's improved his fitness, and he got himself into an offensive position after 2 or 3 shots. And that was an absolute scorcher of a forehand.
Thinks about a challenge.
Wawrinka saw the call left service line. The ball was called out. Second serve.
You know, to me, that challenge was more about getting in Nadal's head a little bit, because Nadal actually put his hand up to say it was out. And I think it was more of a Wawrinka saying, you know what, I'm still going to challenge it. I'm out here to win this match.
Does not look like a man satisfied with reaching the final.
No.
The entire match against Berdych
40-30.
faced 1 break point. Only lost 5 points on his serve in this set so far, and none when he's made the first serve.
Welcome back to the Australian Open 2014, presented by Franklin Templeton Investments.
Great start for Stan Wawrinka, trying to take small steps toward a massive achievement here, win a set against Nadal for the first time in the 27 they played. It'd be crushing at this point if he didn't win this. He's played so well and leads 5-2. But then the job becomes even bigger. Win 2 more.
Exactly.
Nadal will play better as this match goes on. It's not been a very good set. Hasn't served a low percentage, but hasn't been nearly as dominant off the ground as we are used to seeing him.
Only 3 winners for Rafa, all off the forehand side. Wawrinka with 11 winners so far. Been played on Stan's terms so far.
15 love.
As an example example of what Darren was talking about.
Yes.
That grip is so tricky on the return for him to get a good cut and any kind of control on a first serve return.
Well, there he gave himself a little extra room, took a couple of steps back even on the first serve return. Second serve, he's able to easily take a big cut at it.
30-15.
He's also making a few more returns tonight, a few more errors, because he knows he can't just bunt that ball back and start the rally. Nadal's going to make that a forehand and put him on the run straight away. So he's taking more risks off this first serve return.
Yeah, a little easier to do, Darren, when he's up a break.
Mm-hmm.
Nadal had one double the entire match against Federer, already 2 in this set.
14-15.
So now the first test of the evening for Wawrinka as a closer, trying to finish this set. Finally take a set from Rafa. And then change rackets the game after the ball change. As you mentioned, Nadal only has 4 rackets in the bag. It's a very low number. You've got more here, but he'll never use them because the frames haven't been match tested. Not quite the same when you try to close out a set against a guy you've never beaten, is it?
Especially in your first major final.
And never taken a set from him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This is a psychological barrier. He's broken through quite a few down here. This is an important one.
Got it. Part of the reason why Rafa's become such a great off-court player and a hard-court player is his willingness to step in and take chances. Inside the baseline, attacks the return for a clean winner.
Wawrinka screaming out. This is where he's got to push through those doubts that players talk about. It's been a tense game from him.
Has not made a first serve in this game and has paid the price.
33 consecutive holds of serve for Wawrinka. Tested right now. 3 chances for Nadal to get back on serve. How important are these next few points in this match?
Very.
I thought you'd say that. Round 2, second serve returns not put in play by Nadal on break point. Helping out a guy who's pretty tight on this end. The third break point to fight off.
This is the first time he's backed up off a second serve return.
Terrible return. 3 in a row on second serve, not in play.
Still hasn't made a first serve this game.
Yes.
Nadal lets Wawrinka get out of this game and grab the set. What a boost for the Swiss. Triple break point quickly to set point. Wawrinka, and Wawrinka taking a set off Nadal for the first time in his life. Finally a first serve. It's Rafa who lets Wawrinka off the hook in that game and finds himself down a set in the Australian Open final.
All I say is love in my life. Burning like a flame, this is fire started. There's a fire burning in my heart.
Wawrinka knowing he can play a lot better than he did in that first set. He certainly can't serve much worse. 38%. First serves, only made 1 in that last game, closing it out. But claws back from love 40 with 5 points in a row. Hardly redlining, and it wasn't a terribly physical set. 37 minutes, which is more good news whenever you play Nadal.
Not a lot of long rallies, not a lot of physical rallies. That's certainly good news for Wawrinka. I certainly expect Nadal to come out with a lot of energy and intensity here to open this second set.
Being set in the first point of the second set. Want to grind? I can grind with you.
And exactly the kind of point that Rafa wants to play, but that backhand overpowered him there cross court, and then he set himself up for a big forehand winner. Some tremendous defense and then quick strike offense from Stan. But he worked hard to get himself into that position.
Nadal is dripping on the court. Wants a little housekeeping done on the service baseline there.
Yeah, still really warm out here as well, and quite humid. About 75 degrees.
It's Wawrinka's game that's making him sweat more than anything.
Well, Miss hits it, and Stan again stepping around. Easily hits the winner there.
What a tremendous display in this first game of the set. Tony in that corner urging Rafa on.
Well, he's basically saying, listen, this guy's just hitting the ball unbelievable right now. You got to stay the course. He's flat out being bullied out there right now.
Anything Nadal does not hit very cleanly as he gets a time violation here. Next one will cost him a fault. No stranger to those. What a game. In the zone. Wawrinka breaks it low. So from low 40 in the previous service game, that's 9 spectacular points. Well, 3 of them return misses from Nadal that were huge. As you see, Magnus Norman and Severin Luthi on the left.
He's just trying to stay cool out there because the game plan is working to a T, and he's teeing off both wings. What a game that was.
Rafa is not happy with the chair umpire, having a long conversation there at the change of ends, obviously about the time violation.
Well, I guess he'd rather have one called at first game of the second set than at 4-all. And it happened against Nishikori the other day. We were focusing on that last service game of Wawrinka because if he gets broken, it's back on serve. You don't know how he's going to react, but being given those gifts, he's raised his game another level. Not often see Rafael Nadal lose 11 points in a row.
Wow, he's really out of sorts on the return. He's trying to move way back, trying to move way in, and just not timing the ball at all.
This after a superb return night against the Federer serve. He's all over it. Roger won very few free points. A 40-love change of pace.
14-15.
Stan's also one of those players that has extra weight on his serve. You can look at the clock, but it feels like a much heavier second serve than 100 miles an hour. A lot of the time, that's where he's serving. And Rafa's late with a lot of these second serve returns. And that 100 mile an hour second serve is heavy because it's also hit with a lot of spin and it's moving around.
Easy front volley. And Wawrinka stretches it to 2-love.
What's obviously helping, Chris, that's Wawrinka's got the lead. But what I like about what he's doing is he's sticking with his game plan. Unlike what Federer has done against Nadal, which is serve and volley early, but then as soon as he gets past a couple of times, back away. Wawrinka's staying with it. Now he's got the lead, so it's easier. But he's obviously come out with that a real part of his game plan, which is to mix up some serve and volley when he's got Nadal wide on the backhand.
Let's for serve.
Explain the feeling. You come out, you're serving for a set against a guy you haven't beaten. You play a nervous game. He shanks the first ball to lose the point. Can't really find a first serve, but you still get through that game.
A lot of confidence. It gives you a lot of confidence, and I think that's the reason for this quick start in the second set. And at the moment, Chris, it could turn, but at the moment, even the points Wawrinka's losing, he's losing them on his terms. He's going for shots. He's just missing. He's really pushing Nadal around this court at the moment. And Nadal feels it.
Out.
That's a perfect example, though. I mean, that point was on Wawrinka's terms.
30-15.
You can hear the effort coming from Nadal to try to make some progress in the points. He's not really making it. I mean, this was lined up for Stan, just barely missed it.
He second-guessed himself after it, said it should have gone line.
No, I actually think it was the right shot. Just didn't need to hit it that well.
Badly missed time there as it kicked up. That's in the service box that Nadal is aiming for right now. You can hear the birds overhead. Nadal's frustrated big time.
Long time since I've seen him like this. And
Wow, something just may have happened to his back.
He actually just called for the trainer, I believe. The chair umpire was on his walkie-talkie, so I'm assuming it was for a trainer.
Wow. He turned and he torqued that right up the middle of the court. This has been the major which he's had injury problems in his career.
Says it's his unluckiest, right?
Yeah. Missed it twice because of injury. Gotten hurt twice during the tournament here.
Wawrinka not bothered at all. Goes right to work on him.
That's concern.
This is why you never take any of these matches for granted. And there's nothing on that serve from Nadal just 97-mile-an-hour first serve. He spun it in the box.
This is a big game right here.
Just trying to get through this game, Darren, and then see what the trainer can do. Nothing wrong with that forehand cut. So let's see what happens with the trainer's visit to Nadal.
Referees coming onto the court, and the trainer.
Remember, it was against Andy Murray 2010 that he was being outplayed by the Scot, retired in that match. And you know it takes a lot for Nadal to retire at a major. The year after that, when he's going for the Rafa Slam against Ferrer, first game of the match, he injures his knee, doesn't retire, but can't really move around.
They're going to go off the court. It's obviously a back issue. I think that's what the trainer was explaining to him. There's a little sort of training room just outside that exit, the entrance where the players go.
Maybe going back to hand a racket to somebody to have it restrung. And we'll see. That's what we just referenced. He was being routed by Murray and down a couple sets. Retired in this match.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nadal has left the court to receive a medical timeout.
And then the very next year, against a man that he had dominated, David Ferrer, felt something pop in the knee. Very first game.
He continued the match and was better at half speed the entire match.
See if we can pick up what happened tonight. That's that backhand that he snatched at in the net in the middle of that last game.
If you want to know, ask Stefan.
So the injury timeout has been taken. Nadal has left the court. And let's go to Chris McKendry and Brad in our studio.
All right, thank you, Chris and Patrick. Hate seeing this story that we've seen too many times here with Rafa Nadal. It is his hardest, most difficult Grand Slam event. Brad, what have you seen from their play so far?
Well, the Stanimal came out with purpose. I mean, he was cracking the ball, and he was determined to take it to Rafa. And those three misses on the second serve return just stun you. But right away, right after that, Stan went right to work. And to me, he's the one that's dictating. And if I was Stanimal right now, there's no way I would be sitting on this entire changeover when Rafa's in getting treatment, because what's racing through your head? I'm setting a break up. The guy's off in the locker room. Get up, bounce around, because you know when Rafa comes back, he'll, I'm sure, you know, still have another gear to be able to reach to.
Well, there you see Stan Wawrinka talking with the chair umpire.
Yes, you have to tell me every match when the opponent calls the physio, you have to tell me why. That's the rule. So you ask and you tell me. If not, I call the physio and I leave just like that.
No, it's between him and the physio for the moment.
No.
If Stefan wants to.
No, you know that's not the rules. You have to tell me why.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nadal is now receiving a medical timeout.
So you call and you ask both.
I'm not going to do that, Stan.
You're not going to ask?
I'm not going to ask, no. Now you have a choice. Whether
What's the problem now?
You can fight about this or you can accept it. I think you need to accept it.
But every match, when the opponent asks why the physio is here, the umpire says.
When Stefan gets back, let's see what he says. When Stefan gets back, maybe he disagrees with me.
Stefan now here.
He has to be there.
Call Stefan now here.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. He has to stay there.
Stefan is the supervisor, Stefan Franzen. He was out here a moment ago. I think he went back in with Nadal. And Wawrinka is saying, I need to be told why he's left the court.
Hey, Patrick.
There's a discussion about the rules, Brad.
Yes.
Ramos saying that's not the rule, and you know it.
Yeah, I wouldn't if I was Stan Wawrinka. You're setting a break up. You're in the zone. Don't engage in this argument right now. Get up, dance around. Now he's finally getting the referee.
He told me that he's not going to tell me, he's not going to ask. Normally the rules is someone has the physio, but I don't say why. Okay. So why he doesn't want to tell me? Why he tell me? Because in the basic treatment, the umpire didn't ask me if he's allowed to tell me no problem. He told me why. Always happens in every match.
He's so unhappy, he thinks he should be told the reason for the medical timeout.
A lot of boos now in the stadium as well. Stan was actually waving up to the Nadal camp, the coaching camp, not his box, to Nadal's camp, saying, "What's up?"
Well, at least he's finally up after 5 minutes and 40 seconds. I think, guys, that's too long for him to carry on that argument.
You know him very well, Darren. Is this the kind of thing that could unsettle him when he's playing some of the best tennis of his life here in the first hour of this match?
I would have said yes about 12 months ago, Chris, but I think he's a different guy now. I sat with him on a plane about 2 years ago when he talked about the need to make change with his personal life and also with his tennis career and becoming more professional and having more belief against the top players in the world. And the first thing he said he had to do was to get a great coach. And it took him 8 years. Have a listen to this.
Being booed as he walks back out shirtless. That's a first on Rod Laver Arena.
That's a shocker.
Of course, there will be people around the tennis world who will say that the way the match is going, the complexion of it, an element of gamesmanship could come into play.
Well, it doesn't look like he has anything on the back. Must have got some heat cream, but I'm just still shocked about what has transpired here. Why Stanislav would have got engaged in that.
Well, he's getting engaged because he's standing up for himself. He's thinking exactly what Chris just suggested.
I didn't suggest. I said people would.
No, I understand.
A lot of players would be suspicious of it.
That's what Wawrinka's point is.
Yeah.
Whether he's right or wrong, I don't know. Because you never know. I mean, I would very much doubt that Nadal would just leave the court if he didn't hurt himself.
Right.
Ready for playing. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Quiet, please. Thank you.
See how the 7-minute, 15-second stop affects both guys.
15 left.
Not much of a long look from Nadal to his camp. Didn't show much there.
13 40 left.
Say what you want, but there's definitely something wrong with Nadal. I mean, he's not moving at all. I wonder if it's just his back just seized up on him.
3 games to 1.
That's pure speculation on my part. He's almost in tears.
I haven't been able to see if there's any strapping underneath his shirt, and for sure he's probably taken a couple of painkillers when he went inside the training room. Sometimes that takes 20 or 25 minutes to kick in.
Many nights in Melbourne are very cool. Temperatures down about high 50s. This is a much warmer night.
Thank you.
I think you have a little less chance of injuring your back on a nice warm evening. If he'll soldier on. If he can't move any better than that, Patrick, or serve any faster, this is going to be one-way traffic to the finish line for Wawrinka.
15 all.
Nadal is a man who's willing to suffer as much as anybody who's ever played tennis on the court.
78 miles an hour, that last serve. Can barely reach the net at the moment.
Hmm. 15-14.
Is there a worse part of the body to be hurting when you're trying to play tennis?
He can't move at all.
Break points for a 4-1 lead. On another match, it might be in the Grand Slam final. He does not want to shake hands and have Wawrinka win it that way.
No, this guy's an incredible fighter. He might be trying to buy a little time to see if some painkillers, which I'm guessing he took, might be able to kick in. But I've never seen him like this on a tennis court.
Not seen our coverage. He brought nothing like this into the tournament. The blister has been the only talked about physical situation, and it's been feeling fine. This is something very new tonight. There was no issue at practice.
You know, the back just completely locked up on him.
It's the first evidence we can see of it. Early in the second set. Just a short massage and Nadal back out, but Wawrinka in total control here. Just has to keep his mind on the job, not let what's happening on Nadal's side distract him.
What must be going through Stan's mind at the moment?
I've got it won, right? That's the danger.
Well, yeah, tough not to think that, but he's got to push that to his side.
15 love. Let's for serve.
And serve at 115. Rafa didn't even make a move for it.
Well, there's two possibilities at the moment. One of them is what Darren suggested, which he's hoping and waiting to see if maybe some painkillers kick in. The other one is he doesn't want to retire. Just wants to play it out. Which, by the way, he did against Ferrer.
I would suggest both are true. Yeah. He's waiting to see if he can loosen up and feel better. And there's no way he wants to shake hands in a Grand Slam final by retiring. Wawrinka has to be thinking about that trophy, which is just over his right shoulder here. There's been no retirement in an Australian Open men's final since 1990, when Stefan Edberg against Lendl, a set all, down 5-2 in the third, retired with an abdominal injury.
Wawrinka leads 5-1.
Rafa's achieved so much and been a huge part of tennis history. He does not want to add his name to the very short list of guys who've retired in Slam finals.
And this crowd is stunned at the moment.
Let for serve.
And no doubt disappointed.
Fifteen left. Fifteen over.
Even Carlos Ramos in the chair sounds disappointed. You only get 4 of these a year as fans.
15-40.
He won a nice final to climax the tournament. Serve and volley to save 1 set point. Nadal wants to get this over as quickly as possible, this second set.
No, the only thing you're wondering now is just, is he gonna shake hands?
The only thing a player wants from a trainer is, can I injure it worse by continuing to play?
Right.
And if the answer is yes, then you make the prudent decision to stop.
Advantage Wawrinka. Yes. Advantage Nadal.
Nadal will play on, it looks like, and Wawrinka will serve for a 2-set-to-love lead. Nadal spinning the changeover with his head in his hands. Guy who has been a symbol of strength and stamina on a court. Not always sturdiness, however. And as far as we know, never had a real back issue before, Patrick.
Nope.
It's been the knee, of course. Ankles, feet.
Blister here was, as you said earlier, Chris, really the big story for him, the middle part of the tournament.
But so many other players have had back issues. Federer, Murray, the back surgery after the U.S. Open.
15-all.
Two set points.
Game and second set. Wawrinka 6 games to 2. Wawrinka wins 2 sets to 1.
So Stan Wawrinka within a set of his first Grand Slam title under circumstances that no one here wanted. And now grimacing as the trainer rubs cream into his back. It's his father, Sebastian, behind Tony.
And also a lot of those people that booed him as he came out from inside the tunnel are feeling pretty bad about themselves right now as well. Very conflicted feeling inside the stadium.
Absolutely. Wawrinka was outplaying Nadal before there was any hint of an injury, that's for sure. And his match against Djokovic on this court on Tuesday, the highlight of his tournament so far. If he's given the trophy after one more set, he will have deserved it and earned it.
Absolutely.
But no one wants to see the slam end this way.
Well, anyone that's had their back seize up on them, I mean, I have a couple of times, but the idea of actually trying to go out and do anything, never mind play tennis, it's just unfathomable.
Love 15. Love 13.
Just a complete freakish thing. He said, Chris, there's never been any sign of any issue for him with the back.
Yeah, not that we know of, perhaps in training, but certainly not in a match that I can recall. This is a guy who came into this event on a roll after one of the most satisfying years of his career, winning major number 13 to close out 13. Looked to be, despite his age of 27, at his physical peak in this tournament so far. And whatever whatever it was, Patrick, 1 or 2 swings of the racket. Feeling something grab.
Yeah, we noticed it on that one forehand when he pulled up. We didn't see anything before that.
Yes.
People look for any sign that it's feeling better or that the painkillers are kicking in.
That was a decent sign.
Better cuts at the ball.
Grunting also on every ground stroke.
Still not moving like we are used to seeing him, to say the least.
Nor serving.
No. Let's recap what happened. Wawrinka said he felt relaxed and came out firing in the first set. He was able to grab the break and really dictating on both wings.
Yeah, his big forehand was working, but so was the backhand. That went up the line for a winner. Gets to set points, saved 3 break points in that game. And in the second set, he started off beautifully. More of the same. A brilliant game to break serve early. And then the Nadal injury came right around this point here when he missed his forehand. And
kind of rolled that serve in there too.
Yeah.
To begin the point.
Left the court to get some treatment. Since then, his movement's been severely limited.
Looks like reacting to Wawrinka's shots has been one of the bigger problems with the back, as well as serving. There's just no explosive movement either way. Wawrinka struggling to keep his level up. Can't be easy mentally.
No. I mean, think about he's waited his whole life to have an opportunity like this, worked his way to get to this final. Outplaying Nadal for a set in an early part of the second set and thinking, okay, I might actually have a chance to win this.
Little better moving. Nadal trying to stay right up on the baseline so he can have to cover less ground. And
love 30 opening.
Yeah, this is where Stan needs to decide how he wants to finish this, how he wants to play. Does he go back to playing the same aggressive way as he was at the first set, or does he put a little more spin on the ball and give it more margin? But he's got to pick a way. And then be committed to it.
15-30.
better hitting. As long as he doesn't have to sprint side to side. And Nadal, two great chances to jump in front in the third. His only break points until these were in the 5-3 game in the first, when Wawrinka played a very nervous game and fell behind love 40 before reeling off 5 in a row. We'll see how this service game goes if he's able to get a little bit more on the serves. If in fact the pain-killing medication or the rub out is having an effect. Clearly Wawrinka's concentration wobbly right now.
That's hard. I mean, as Darren said, you got to pick away, but part of determining which way to pick depends on what's happening on the other side. Nadal can't move at all. You can play with a little more margin and sort of move it around, but as it appears at the moment, he's starting to at least be able to move a little bit. He's still not serving.
One of the greatest defenders ever has no defensive game right now. He has to try to dictate points. If he has to move or chase shots, it's not going to happen. Nadal's back gets better, and if Wawrinka can regroup mentally, down 3-love. This is the serve, trailing a set in 2-love when we can first spy evidence of something wrong with Nadal's back. Immediately calls for the trainer after that first serve. There's the second serve following that. Just kind of laid it in, and Wawrinka mistimed it, and then the forehand cut on the following point.
The next point was when he
punched over.
That's right. Yeah, that was a good pickup by our guys there and gals in our production truck.
Let's for serve.
Keeping his mind on the job, seeing that Nadal is beginning to take better cuts off the ground.
Well, I think playing with a little more margin is a good thing, but he does have to move Nadal because Nadal's now starting to get better cuts at the ball, and he's found his timing, and he's hitting the ball better. There's no question about it. But the movement is still not there, so you don't have to redline, but you still have to work the ball with a bit more spin than what you started the match with. Forget about what's happening on the other side of the court. Concentrate on your side. Block it out as much as you can. It's difficult. You have to do the best you can.
14-15. I always hear people say it's hard to play against someone that's injured. It's a lot harder to be injured. So you have to remember that.
I'll play a drop shot as well, just to check it out, see if he's going to move forward.
If Wawrinka could just continue to hit his spots in the corner of the service box, Rafa's not making a move toward those serves. The serve speed at times in this tournament was affected by the blister. That's not the issue here. It's much more severe than that.
Little come on there from Stan, trying to get himself refocused, get himself pumped up again.
Yeah, it's hard to be too pumped up, isn't it, Dan? I mean, that's the challenge, because
Exactly.
here he is playing for his first major final against one of the greatest players of all time. And it's almost like he can't really pump himself up because it's obvious what's going on the other side. What's going on from the other side is some pretty good shots at the moment, like that.
13-15.
Nadal can get a return in the spot to hit. That's clearly what he wants to do. First ball, get Wawrinka moving, win it quickly. It's been a pretty successful play in his service games. And that's not much of a return with a pretty soft serve, allowing Nadal to hit the winner. Head shake from Wawrinka. Down 4-1 in the third. A strange final, to say the least. Crowd inside Rod Laver, not sure what to make of this.
I don't think anybody is.
Nadal still not serving hard or moving well, but hitting some quality shots. Wawrinka, his concentration a little fragile right now. Finds himself down a break. The job would seemingly be straightforward for him, given what he's come through in this tournament, but it's such a different proposition.
He's making a lot more errors in this set. That's already his 13th unforced error in the set against just 7 winners. And in the first couple of sets, he was a lot higher in winners to errors. And then Nadal, he gets him on the move a little bit there, and there comes a winner from the other side.
What do you think he's thinking about what he's seeing across the net from Nadal right now?
I guess I'm going to have to work to win this. I mean, it's hard to know what exactly is going through his mind. I mean, what a range of emotions. I mean, he's never been in this position before. He's a huge underdog. He comes out on fire. He's up a set and a break. For a good 15 minutes, it looks like there's no way Nadal's going to be able to finish the match. Now he's down 4-1 in the third. You tell me what he's thinking.
See if Nadal can manage to hold serve twice more and push this to a fourth set. Some deep breaths from Wawrinka at this near end, right in front of our window here, trying to jump around and get himself going again.
It also looks like Nadal has taken off that little donut piece of tape that he had covering the blister. You can see the blister is now exposed.
A little better running from Nadal.
And if you're looking for positive signs from Rafa as well, at the end of the change of ends of the last turn, he actually took his gel, his normal routine, so getting his mind back on the job here as well. So he's doing his normal stuff to help him prepare for the next game. And that's a good sign.
Slightly better speed on the first serve miss. Wawrinka badly mistiming that return.
Nice shot there.
That's the kind of backhand that built him the lead in this match.
Yeah, much better hitting from Nadal on that point as well. They got some angle on these forehands. And Stan on the run just crushes that. Some serious leg strength right there.
Really struggled with the off-speed Nadal serves. Not very many quality returns, which is giving Nadal the chance, I think, Patrick, to end points quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's taking the chances because he knows that's what he has to do.
Out 14-13.
Wawrinka kind of throws his hands in the air. Another hold from Nadal, who's closing in on the third set.
Welcome back to the Australian Open 2014, presented by Franklin Templeton Investments.
Australia Day and a funky Aussie Open final as Wawrinka serves to stay in this third set. He went and had more of that gel fueling up.
Yep.
So we're not going to see a retirement here, it appears, which is good news. We may see a fourth set as Wawrinka can find a way to break Nadal. Stan completely outplaying Rafa when Nadal was 100% early, but since the injury, it's gotten more complicated for him.
14. So he was able to win the second set quickly, and then I think as we surmised, Nadal has been able to get the back work done, probably took some painkillers. We don't know that for sure. At least he's been able to swing at some shots. He still hasn't obviously been able to move, but when he first got injured, Chris, he couldn't even swing at the ball.
Looks to me like the backhand is feeling okay as long as he doesn't have to reach for it. And the shots are coming down the center of the court. He's still timing them up well, and he's playing close to the baseline, so he's able to use Wawrinka's pace.
This is where Stan's return of serve lets himself down a little bit because he doesn't really get a lot of pace on his first serve return. I'd actually back him up so he can take a swing at this first serve return, because Nadal's not serving over 105 miles an hour. Because he's standing in so close to the baseline, the bunt's not working for him. It's giving Nadal a crack at that first shot.
That's a great point, Darren. With a few quality returns, it seems like he can get right back on serve here.
And Nadal's basically spinning it into his backhand every time without a lot of pace on it. You know, he's got new balls. Talked about that improvement off the forehand wing for Wawrinka, and it's paid off for him tonight. That's definitely better movement there from Rafa.
15-0.
She stepped back to hit a forehand, Darren.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of better returns there, but Wawrinka has not tried one drop shot since Nadal has injured himself. Surprising.
Nobody could have predicted this plot twist.
Wawrinka had 2 break chances earlier in the set. Has 2 more to get back on serve.
Please, please, please. Ready for play now. Thank you.
Just tension there. Stress levels getting high on the Wawrinka side of the court.
Nadal 2 points from the set.
Light for serve.
Backing way up again on the return.
Wow, that one really flew on him.
Nadal, a set point. As Wawrinka continues to mutter to himself.
Yes.
13 winners off that wing now for Wawrinka. 42-16 overall.
Boy, Wawrinka's battle is all between the ears right now. Just can't flush the tension out. Another chance from Nadal to take the set.
That last serve, though, Chris, 107 miles per hour.
Coming up a little bit. He just slaps it over the net. Nadal forces a fourth set as the trainer makes another visit. Plot twists on Rod Laver Arena as we go upstairs to Chris McHenry and Brad Gilbert.
Chris, thank you. We're going to stay here with the trainer as he takes a look at Nadal, but this is Nadal's 20th Grand Slam final. He's won his set in each and every one. This will not be straight sets, Brad. We weren't sure we could say that about 40 minutes ago.
I'll just say, holy Toledo. Early in that third set, when Stanislav had a couple of break points, you thought maybe it would be over. Look at the fireworks going downtown, but that used to interrupt play. But they moved it down to the Docklands, so no interruption of play. But Stanislav has got to get back to moving Rafa side to side, working the point. I always say, be wary of wounded bear. You start to focus on what's on the other side of the net, and he stopped playing his game. And he started donating a little bit, and all of a sudden now he's given Rafa a little bit of hope when he's maybe moving at 20%.
Yeah, Darren said it. We haven't seen a serve and volley since Rafa's been injured. He's not moving him around as possibly he should be. And Nadal is getting back into his routine. He's getting back into this match, and Stan has lost the script.
Well, speak of routine, I'd never seen him let the guy cross the net first a few times earlier in the third set. Let's take a look at Rafa getting back in the set. He started to play more aggressively. He couldn't move, but he started taking a few more cuts. And I think a lot of it came from these weak returns. He was serving at about 80 miles an hour, and then Rafa started dictating play. And once again, that's a ball right there early in this match where Stanislav would make Rafa move. Doesn't make him move. Easy winner from Rafa. And look at these donations from the Stanislav. Just easy mistakes off of 80-mile-an-hour serves. Once again, no moving his feet. That's a 6 in cricket.
Take a look at the errors by set so far.
8-12. It started creeping up there. 19 that set. And to me, all of a sudden, if Rafa can, early in this set, establish a little more movement, nerves might really start to creep in the Stanimal's head.
Could be something in the Open era, Chris. No one's overcome an 0-2 deficit in the final of the Australian Open for the men. We send it back down to you and Patrick.
An 0-2 deficit with a back injury, no less. But what Brad said's important. We'll see how Wawrinka handles this first game of the fourth. He can keep holding serve. He can play with the lead until he can find a way to make enough returns to get the break against Nadal.
Very good point. And now I think he understands what he's up against. He understands what's coming from the other side of the net. He should be able to settle down. Kind of find that balance that Darren was talking about, that he wants to play now. Against obviously an injured Nadal, but not a Nadal that can't play, that can't compete. He's wounded, but he's still there.
He holds comfortably. Now we'll try to get on top of these off-speed Nadal serves. Notice the miles per hour coming up as the third set went on. He was struggling to break 80 miles an hour when that first seized up.
And while he still is struggling, obviously, at least now he's going through all of his pre-point routines. Return a serve, taking the towels back, pre-serve routines, walking through the middle of the Melbourne sign. I know the body's not in it, but certainly the head is back in the game.
Well, and you hear Nadal skid as he did on going out to that forehand. That's a good sign for him. A little more explosive with his movement out to that forehand. Couple solid returns from Wawrinka there. As you see the end of the third set, it did get back up to around 100.
I like this move of Stan backing up for the first and second serve.
Yeah, he's gotten better cuts on all three of his returns in this game.
Let's serve.
Beautifully done there.
Now Wawrinka's back in it emotionally. They come on. Chances to grab a break here.
Yeah, in it emotionally and with his footwork, Chris. Stepping around to hit two big forehands. Very alert. Well outside the doubles alley when he made contact there.
A break of serve here changes everything.
Sure.
Biggest serve in a while there, 113.
Wow. Difficult to know what to expect if you're Wawrinka. The service speeds are sort of all over the place. So Wawrinka doesn't get the break that would have changed everything. 4 points in a row for Nadal. One game all. Big Four and won 34 of the last 35 men's Grand Slam titles. The exception being Juan Martín del Potro in 2009 U.S. Open, the comeback against Federer. Wawrinka trying to break that hold here. During that incredible span of 35, Federer has won 13, Nadal 13, Djokovic 6, Murray 2. And that group has dominated the finals down here since 08.
Even a couple little words of encouragement in this game from the Nadal player box, suggesting that maybe it's, as Darren was pointing out about his routines and his rituals, somewhat they're back in the match too, somewhat getting back to normal. Certainly not normal, but they feel, I think, that when Rafa feels that, you know, he's still able to be out there and play.
That's a great observation, Darren May. When he abandons those rituals, that means just about abandoning hope. He uses those to sort of maintain order and some sense of control out there. Well chronicled ticks. But he does look a lot more engaged right now. Game point.
Let us serve.
That's nicely done.
On serve in the fourth. Opportunities in that game for Wawrinka to take control. Last time Rafa served, couldn't grab them. Nadal clearly trying to put much more energy and emphasis on holding serve.
That's a bad miss there. I think initially he wanted to come forward on that, which he should have, and then he hesitated.
He just said push, push, push for himself. Nadal wants to stop and challenge the call in the previous shot.
Ball's called in.
The eyes are still sharp for Nadal. That's another bad miss for Wawrinka, Patrick.
Yep.
They can get fairly easy for Nadal to build a 40-love lead here. Better return.
40-15.
Serve ball from Rafa, sliding it wide, and Stan a bit sluggish with the feet there.
2 games over.
He's really struggling in Nadal's service games to hit clean shots. So many mistakes. Allowing Nadal to stay with him.
We talk so often about Nadal being one of the great problem solvers in tennis, and you could just feel his mind ticking over right now.
It's a heck of a problem to solve, but he has found ways to be competitive.
15-all.
So used to seeing him battle for every ball and every shot. Clearly that's not happening and can't happen, seemingly.
Ace number 18.
Yeah.
30-15.
I think for a while, obviously, Nadal was thinking about how can I just survive? How can I stay out here? Now, 2-all in the 4th. Maybe he's starting to think about, could I actually get this to a 5th set?
Get to a 5th set of a Grand Slam final. Anything is possible. Remember, we saw the French final. Guillermo Coria was absolutely routing Gaston Gaudio.
2 sets to love up.
Barely lost a game through the first couple sets in Paris, and then it all sort of turned around, and Coria got tight and he cramped. Gaudio became one of the most surprising slam winners on the men's side in recent years against the guy who was the best clay court player at that time.
And look at how that loss affected Coria's career.
So another comfortable hole for Wawrinka. Hasn't yet been able to solve Nadal's serves yet in the 4th. Now, if you're just joining us, we'll explain the funky scoreline and the stats that reflect a bizarre Australian Open final. Nadal trying to find a way to navigate through his service games, continue to hold, and maybe put some pressure on Wawrinka.
Thank you. Thank you. Ready for play. Love 15.
Anything miss hit or left hanging, Wawrinka has pummeled tonight. That was one of the best quick movements Nadal's made in the last couple sets there, covering that forehand.
Stan second-guessed his direction on the forehand there, went back behind Nadal. There's the great rocket, Rod Laver.
His first ever Grand Slam final was at Wimbledon. He was routed in it.
Big big opportunity now for Wawrinka. Like the fact that he stepped back, he's put a little air under some of his shots. Opportunity at 15:30.
Wawrinka knows that this is his chance right here.
Got it.
His cheering section behind the player box on their feet. There's the long-awaited break for the Stanimal. And it seems like the trophy is right within his grasp, given Nadal's troubles to break.
Well, now it's just going to be a question of can Wawrinka handle his own nerves to cross the finish line. As he set that point up beautifully. And an easy forehand. Dumped it in the middle of the net.
No surrender yet from Nadal. You wouldn't expect it.
Still can't believe Stan has not tried to test him out and play a single drop shot since Nadal hurt himself.
What do you think that is, Darren?
Just a mental block, I would say. Just the occasion. Just not thinking clearly.
Wow, did not see this. 3 chances for Nadal to get back on serve. Out here, back on serve. Rafael Nadal still alive thanks to serious show of nerves from Wawrinka after he had gotten the break to go up 4-2. A string of errors to show some frailty to Rafa, which is not a good idea.
Thank you. Thank you.
15-all. It's our spot from our booth here, and Wawrinka comes right back to get his towel. Boy, he's got plenty to think about.
Likes to carry on conversations with himself. Better stuff from Wawrinka there. Just mind on the job.
All of a sudden, Nadal grunting like normal. Wawrinka patient, set up the backhand. He's done that a few times where he goes big, heavy cross court and then gets the opening down the line. Hesitated there, and it cost him.
15-14. Chances at another break. Now it's time to be able to serve for the title.
That was a smart shot from Stan there. Got it down at his feet.
It's nice to have him look right into the window between every point. He tries to take little breaks. He says, think about anything but tennis for about 2 seconds to kind of clear the mind in a big moment. Deep breath and a couple of whacks to the head by Wawrinka. Another break gives him a chance to serve for his first Grand Slam title.
Boy, it works for him again, this time with the forehand wing, cross court, and then the winner up the line, and he says, one more to go.
And no more what we saw in the last service game. Nadal is still trying to give everything he has over there.
Heck of an effort by Rafa.
He sure is.
And new balls, no less. Well, let him have a deep breath and win that first point.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stepping out of the shadows of his compatriot with 17 Grand Slam titles, closing in on his first. Triple championship point. was the man. A Grand Slam title well earned, even if the final chapter was bizarre. Not the way he would have envisioned it. Perhaps not the way he hoped it would feel, Patrick, but still a very satisfying 2 weeks in Australia for Stanislav Wawrinka.
Very, very touching to me the way he celebrated, because he really didn't celebrate. And I think that was respect for this man, Rafael Nadal. And it was very muted, but he will celebrate, and he deserves to celebrate. And
Nadal, this group right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Magnus Norman took him on about 9 months ago. Got into the U.S. Open semis, which was a big achievement. Got him past Djokovic to snap a 14-match losing streak. And his first ever win of Nadal. There's Severin Luthi, of course, has been in Roger Federer's camp and on the losing end of so many matches against Nadal. 28 years old. He admitted it's been a little bit frustrating to be overshadowed by, in his words, the greatest genius ever to play tennis.
Yeah. Well, what a way to win his first major, right? To beat Djokovic, the 3-time defending champ here, and then to beat Rafael Nadal. And I'll tell you, I feel a lot of pride for our sport when I see what Stan did and what Nadal did as well. You couldn't hear what he said, but he wanted Wawrinka to have his moment. And he said, it's okay, don't worry, I'll be okay. And that's a classy response from one of the all-time greats in Rafael Nadal.
I'm sure any player who goes to the net, even if they're a winner, would understand what it would feel like to be on the other side. The disappointment to get hurt in a major final. But as you said, a well-deserved celebration for Stan Wawrinka, who breaks through down under, beats Nadal in 4 sets. Trophy presentation from Melbourne straight ahead. It was match point for Stan Wawrinka, and then a poignant moment. He showed class, and then his moments ago, Wawrinka consoling Nadal, who was outplayed before the injury came up. I have to say that Wawrinka was up a set and a break before Nadal had any issue with the back, and after that, it became a little bit deflating. It became about Nadal's back and Wawrinka's brain. Could he handle what was going on out there and just keep his focus? And it was wobbly for a time, but he got it back.
He did. And, you know, it's interesting. Remember at the beginning of the show, and we had the words from Pete Sampras, and we saw what Rafael Nadal said when he takes that walk. You never know when you're going to get these moments again. And we assume in watching these great champions like Nadal, like Djokovic, Federer for so long, that they're just going to keep coming. And I think they realize more than anyone that you never know what can happen out there. And this certainly was an example of that tonight.
Nadal has been a part of drama at these trophy presentations. 2009 beats Federer, who was the clear favorite in that final. And Roger kind of crying on his shoulder, Rafa consoling him. Then a couple of years ago, of course, after the 5-hour, 53-minute final against Djokovic, Nadal on the losing end. Both guys so exhausted after that battle, they had to bring chairs out in the court as the lengthy presentation unfolded. And now this moment, the humongous disappointment. Battled through a blister, which seems like a minor footnote at this point, given what happened to him in the final. But for Wawrinka, a huge breakthrough at age 28. He has worked forever for this moment. Trophy presentation, just a few seconds delayed. You know that Nadal will be gracious, and so will Wawrinka, and compassionate as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, tennis has a new Grand Slam champion, but tonight I think it's so true to say, there are two great champions on the court, Rafael Nadal and Stan Wawrinka. What a match and what a fortnight. We're joined tonight for the presentation by the President of Tennis Australia, Stephen Healy, from Kia Motors Corporation, the Executive Vice President and CEO, Mr. Thomas O. Pete Sampras is here tonight, 20 years after he won his first Australian Open. And may I say, when Pete won his second Australian Open in 1997, it was Australia Day that day as well. Pete, great to have you back. The tournament director and chief executive of Tennis Australia, Craig Tiley, and the tournament referee, Wayne McEwen, are also here tonight. Kia have been a wonderful sponsor of Tennis Australia and the Australian Open, and I'd like to invite Mr. Thomas O to say a few words.
Gentlemen, I do believe both of you have demonstrated all of the qualities of a true champion throughout this year's tournament. I also thank everyone at the Tennis Australia, the tournament organizing staff and the volunteers for their hard work to make this year's event successful. And of course, my heartfelt thanks go out to all of the passionate fans here tonight, watching at home. Once again, I am so proud of the two finalists for their sportsmanship and professionalism. Thank you.
Mr. O, thank you very much. It's a pleasure now I invite the President of Tennis Australia, Mr. Stephen Healy. Stephen.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Australia Day, and what an eventful fortnight of tennis we've had. I'd like to thank our fantastic sponsors, led by Kia, Jacobs Creek, ANZ, Rolex, and all of our commercial partners. We thank you for your support. These incredible facilities are the very best in the world, and we thank the Victorian Government for their constant support, enabling us to give the fans and the players the very best tennis experience. Thank you to our tournament team, led by our CEO and Tournament Director Craig Tiley, our referee Wayne McEwen, and all of the 4,500 team that come together and are so fantastic in the course of the weekend, the fortnight and the year. And to you, the fans all around the world who've tuned in over 200 countries, and the 643,280 people who have come through the gate, thank you for your support. And to the players, to Rafa, your courage under adversity is absolutely inspiring, and you are a fantastic role model and ambassador for the sport. And to Stan, your first Grand Slam title, we are delighted it's here at the Australian Open. He will be number 3 in the world tomorrow, and he's the first player in over 20 years to beat the number 1 and number 2 seed to win the title. Congratulations. And I now call upon the umpire for the night, Carlos Ramos, to come forward.
Congratulations, Carlos. His third Australian Open and his 6th Grand Slam as the chair umpire. Well, Stephen touched on Rafa's courage tonight. What an incredible comeback Nadal has made to world tennis in the last 12 months. Not here last year. He won 2 majors. He got back the world number 1. And they often say you learn more about a champion when he's flat on his back and in defeat than you do in victory. We learned a lot more again tonight about you, Rafa. To present the trophies, Pete Sampras and the Czechs, Mr. Tomaso, Rafael Nadal.
Well, good evening, everybody. First thing that I want to say and I need to say is many thanks to Stan. You really deserve it, and all your team. Very happy for you. I know we have a great relationship. Bad luck that was against me today, but you really deserve it. So many congratulations and all the best for the rest. Second thing, I want to say many thanks to all the organization, all the ball boys, everybody who makes possible this great event. Seriously, all the sponsors, especially the main sponsor Kia, that is my sponsor since I started playing tennis. So many thanks, Kia, for supporting tennis this way. Thank you very much. Greg, thank you very much for everything. Probably you are best tournament director in the world. You make feel the players like home, and just can say thank you very much from all the players for make us feel unbelievable every year by year here. Thank you very much. My team that was working with me, well, you know, last year I couldn't be here. This year I am back. I tried hard. Thank you very much, everybody who is there supporting me. Without them, it will be impossible to be back where I am today. So thank you very much. And the really last thing, to all the crowd, have been just very, very emotional 2 weeks. I'm, you know, sorry to finish this way. I tried very, very hard. Thank you. Well, last year was a very tough moment when I didn't have the chance to be playing here. This year was one of the more emotional tournaments in my career. Thank you very much for the support. Have been more than ever. I really enjoyed so much playing in this court. So just thank you very much, and see you in 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafa. Well, as Stephen said a moment ago, Stan's the first man since Sergei Bruguera in 1993 to beat the world #1 and #2. But he's also the first man ever to beat Novak and Rafa in a Grand Slam. He did it the hard way. He is the world #3 from tomorrow, but far more importantly than that, he's a Grand Slam champion. Stan Wawrinka.
Hello, everybody. First,
Rafa. I'm really sorry for you. I hope your back is going to be fine. You're a really great guy, a good friend and amazing champion. So you did an amazing comeback last year to come back #1, and it's always a pleasure to play against you and to play with you. So well done for your comeback to be #1, and again, congratulate for the team also. You're always really nice with everybody, so good job. I would like to say many thanks for the sponsor, Jacob's Squib, Kia, and Z for make that even possible. It's for me the best Grand Slam ever. I'm really happy to come back every year here. I'm enjoying very much to play here in front of you. Last year I had a crazy match. I lost it. I was crying a lot after the match, but in 1 year a lot happened, and right now I still don't know if I'm dreaming or not, but we'll see tomorrow morning. I'd like also to say thank you to Craig. I think Rafa told you everything. You're the best tournament director, and you make all the players really happy. We enjoy to come back here. We have everything we want, and it's again for me amazing Grand Slam to play. And I would like to congratulate my team and say thanks you a lot. Magnus, working since 1 year, and first semi-final winner for Grand Slam. Couldn't dream about that. Seve has been since many years with me, always helping me a lot. So I'm really happy that we're here tonight, and we're going to all try to enjoy after that. But also my manager Lawrence, my parents are here, many friends. Missing few people. Fitness trainer Pierre, he's not here with me. My physio Stefan, and special hi to my beautiful wife and daughter. I'm going to come back in 2 days, so if you can wait, it will be nice. And last, I would like to say many thanks to all the people here. Every match I played, amazing support. It's great. You helped me a lot. All the tough battle I had these 2 weeks actually was always a big support. So thank you very much all, and I see you in 12 months.
Ladies and gentlemen, our champion Stan and another champion Rafa.
Right.
Well, when Wawrinka wakes up tomorrow, he will still be a Grand Slam champion. This is not a dream. And his young daughter, whom he revealed, actually prefers when he loses, because that means daddy can come home sooner. We'll get to look at a brand new shiny trophy. Emotional moments. You see Sampras and Nadal giving an explanation, I think, what happened to the back. Yep. He can certainly relate to what it's like to suffer pain and try to play through it.
Remember the emotional pain he had when he played Jim Courier, his good friend, after the news of his coach getting sick, and he got through that match, but he certainly poured his emotions out there. Nadal, ever gracious as a champion, but also giving Stan his moment, which he fully deserves.
Nadal, I think, fighting back tears in the crowd, some of whom booed him when he came back on court after the injury timeout, cheering him loudly at the end there.
And good for him for not even going there, because that was pretty weak for people to make the assumption that Nadal was sort of in some kind of gamesmanship or something like that. That's just would never be the case.
And how about the moment, Patrick, when Rod Laver in his house pulled out his phone, took a picture, and then later on you can see, you know, fighting back to tears, probably reflecting on times that he stood there both as a champion and a runner-up in these Slam finals. Wonderful moments. You can see the tears in the corner of his eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Of course, we talked about it earlier. Remember Federer when he lost that epic match to Nadal. So something about this Australian Open final and the road here brings out a lot of emotions from these players. Obviously, the tennis world's sort of upside down now, and you know we've been waiting for this moment, Chris, for a number of years. Who's going to break through? And for a while, we thought it was Del Potro, who he did 4.5 years ago. We thought maybe it was Thomas Berdych. We thought maybe Tsonga. And Wawrinka, sort of, he wasn't at the top of the list until the last year. And boy, did he seize his opportunity and make it happen. And now he's number 3 in the world.
It was a real theme of this Australian Open. Players reversing head-to-head deficits. Ivanovic over Serena. All the surprises on the women's side before Linan was able to put down the underdog Sibylkova in the final. And on the men's side as well. 14 straight losses to Djokovic. The pain that he talked about, the tears that he shed of disappointment a year ago here, taking Novak out in 5, handling the nerves of Berdych. As you see Rafa walk off, and no doubt when he gets by himself, there'll be some pain. His body letting him down here, as it has before. But Wawrinka breaking through against Nadal, and injury or not, he beat the top 2 players.
Well, and he'll be a force the rest of the year, and we hope, obviously, that Rafael Nadal is okay, that the back injury is something that was just a freak and is not something long-term. And I would suspect and hope that that's the case, and he'll be ready to go for the spring hard courts and obviously for the clay.
The man nicknamed the Stanimal, Stan Wawrinka, at 28, breaks through as a Grand Slam champion. Back after this.
ESPN's coverage of the Australian Open 2014 is presented by Franklin Templeton Investments. Gain from our perspective.
As we welcome you back, Down Under, a Swiss is the men's Australian Open champion. Just not the Swiss you might have thought. It's Stan Wawrinka beating Rafa Nadal in 4 sets in just over 2 hours and 21 minutes. For Nadal, he lost the final for a 2nd straight time here. Lost to Djokovic in 2012. That was an epic battle. Safe to say this one, more of an epic struggle. He was down a set and a break when he grabbed his back, had a medical timeout, tried to recover, get himself back in the match. Never did, though, Brad Gilbert. As we take you outside Rod Laver Arena now, and we're waiting for a visit from Stan Wawrinka. That'll be upcoming as well. What was your impression of how Stan got this match back under his control in the 4th set?
Well, my intangible for the Stanimal was stand and deliver. At 6'3", 2-0, he was playing as brilliantly as I've ever seen him, fearless. Then after that, the match got a little bit strange. I'm still stunned after Rafa took the medical timeout, and obviously he couldn't move, but the crowd didn't know it. But just to boo Rafa.
Never heard that
before. I have never heard that, and I'm still not sure why Stan kind of barked at the umpire that whole time. That was all, you know, a little strange. You know, we were watching it unfold, but you still kind of felt like Rafa would wake up. But obviously he was hampered severely by the back. Wins that 2nd set easy, and then you're kind of thinking maybe he won't even be able to finish. And then Rafa at least, you know, gets back into it. Stan gets a little bit tight. And then actually in the 4th set, I was starting to think maybe is Rafa actually going to come back and win this now? But he showed resolve in the end, and Stanislav Wawrinka is your 2014 Oz Open champion. I'm still kind of speechless just saying that.
Well, you see he's still on the court there. Takes a wave, probably sign a few autographs. Looked like he was texting there a moment ago, sending a message home as he makes his way off the court. And these are the autographs the kids wait for every single match as the players leave Laver. What a special one to get tonight. Nobody thought it would be Wawrinka.
No doubt about it, but I'm sure that text maybe was to his daughter. Dad is a Grand Slam champion. How cool is that?
I'm coming home a little later than you'd like, but I am the champion. And I hope it's not forgotten, Brad. It will be talked about. This is an injury bug seems to get Rafa here. Actually, he's been here 9 times. A third of his tournaments here, he's been hampered by injury or unable to come like last year. But I hope it's not forgotten. This man was up a set and a break and playing incredible tennis in that 1st set, dominating Nadal.
There's no doubt that, you know, he came in 12-0 down. He had never won a set. The last time that they played in London was the first time that he was close to him. And he came out with a lot of vigor. I still can't believe that 5-3 game when he had love 40. Rafa missed 3 consecutive second serve returns and then, you know, got the quick break in the second. We were all like, still waiting. Okay, you just figured Rafa was going to take the Ferrari and take it up a gear. And then that injury happened, which just kind of all, nobody knew what to make of it.
It was a bizarre match. If you're just joining us, just getting up there on the East Coast, let's get you back to the start of the match and how this one began. And Wawrinka was such a big underdog. Brad said he was 0-12 against Nadal, never took a set off of him.
But he came out ripping the ball, playing with a lot of confidence. And then look at this winner right here. That is just monster.
His backhand is one of the finest shots in all of tennis. This is set point first set.
Was a closing ace.
6-3. Second set.
It came on this one first serve we noticed, and then immediately he called the trainer. And then all of a sudden you could see the back locked up.
That was the point after the serve. We saw him call for the trainer on the serve. And that's brought on tears.
He took about a 6.5-minute injury timeout where he went to the locker room after this game. And for about an hour, he could just barely serve or hit any ball.
They came out, worked him in some more. You said they were likely working in a heat cream or something.
He left the court for 1 medical timeout, and then for about 2 or 3 after that, they gave him heat. And then the third set, when it looked like Rafa was maybe done, it started to turn around. Rafa started to play a little more aggressive, and a lot of errors started creeping in the game of Stanislav Wawrinka. Maybe he started to see the finish line, made him a little tight.
So it went to 4 sets. Nadal's never lost in straight sets in the final of a Grand Slam. Didn't do it here either.
And then in the 4th set, Stan started to go back to what was working. He started going side to side on Rafa, started to get a little emotion, and started to hit the ball big again for the first time in like a good hour. And that was a huge shot. Set up match point. Look at him punching himself in the head.
Here's match point. And the celebration, it was more of a stare to his box, confirmation that he had done it, but certainly a great deal of respect for Nadal.
Yeah, it was a muted celebration because obviously Rafa was not himself, but inside I'm sure he's just bubbling. And the big number, I mean, 87% he was winning first serve points, and before he was hurt, he was dominant. And I mean, obviously the number that jumps out for Rafa, you know, the 32 unforced errors to 19 winners, you hardly ever see Rafa minus in that. And look at the target number, none.
Yeah, he had to win more than 27% of first serve return points, and that did not happen for Nadal.
Nada.
That's what you called. You said Stan had to come out and really crack that first serve, and he did. Stan Wawrinka, your 2014 Upset Open Down Under champion. The Australian Open was something to see. There he is, the new Swiss #1, the world #3, and the 2014 Australian Open champion, Stan Wawrinka, walking off the court into the locker room. He'll greet his team and the many members of the media anxious to talk to him after that win.
His life just changed dramatically because, you know, we were waiting for somebody to step up, and I just did not see it was going to be him, but he is the new man. Stand and deliver.
And it took a year. It was a year ago here that he lost in 5 sets to Novak Djokovic. But with that loss, knew he belonged. And it's taken a year, but he now has 3 titles in the past year. His Grand Slam title here, he only has 6 for his career. He's 28 years old. He is coming into his prime.
He got a new coach, got the new tattoo, and life has changed for him.
Yes.
Irish quote.
His tattoo said, "Try again, fail again, but fail better."
Maybe that
can't fail better than this.
That would have maybe worked for me against Lendo, but I doubt it.
I doubt it. Too late for that. What a great win, though, for Stan Wawrinka. And the Big Four has somebody busting into the party. He's at #3. We want to thank everybody for joining us for the Australian Open. For our entire crew here, for Brad Gilbert, Chris Fowler, Patrick McEnroe, and Darren Cahill on the call tonight. A congratulations to Stan Wawrinka and Rafa Nadal, finalist yet again here. So long from Australia. We'll see you again in Paris for the French Open.
Love